Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Sensei series. Recently, I reached out to you asking what topics you would like me to cover here. So I've compiled a list of the 10 most common guitar player questions as requested by you. Some of these topics I've touched on before. I'll link to any related videos as well as individual points down in the description. Without further ado, let's dive in. This first question was phrased in a number of different ways, but was essentially, how can I avoid or heal an injury? This is something I've dealt with. Periodically, I'll get discomfort caused by an inflamed tendon sheath in my left arm. Apparently, this is a fairly common musician injury, and a cream I was prescribed will clear it right up. Now, I know all this and was able to find that solution because I went to a doctor. If something is hurting, listen to your body, seek proper help so it doesn't get worse. Besides that, you can try some stretching and always make sure you're relaxed while playing. Guitar shouldn't hurt. If it does, something is wrong, go see a professional. Especially if you're a fellow Canadian, you don't have to pay for it, take advantage. Number 2, how can I see the guitar in chord tones? This is a fairly advanced topic and was one of the biggest game changers for me in my musical development. When I used to solo, I would figure out which key I was in and play the corresponding pentatonic scale. I was largely unconcerned about the chords playing underneath. I would use my ear, cross my fingers, and hope it sounded good. After becoming competent with the 5 pentatonic shapes, I then learned the 7 modes on guitar. This was basically an expansion of the pentatonic scales. While I was then able to see the diatonic notes in any key across my guitar neck, my system still stayed the same. Use my ear and hope the notes lined up with the chords. I eventually decided that this wasn't going to cut it. I wanted to be able to highlight the harmony with conviction. So what I did was take the 7 different guitar modes and play each diatonic arpeggio in all the positions. Take for example the first mode of G Ionian. I'd start with the arpeggio of the 1 major 7. 1, major 3rd, 5, major 7, 1, and so on. I'd then go on and play the arpeggio of the 2 minor 7 in that position. Flat 7, 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7, 1, and so on. Repeat with all the chords and then do the same thing in every other position. I made up a ton of different exercises based on this principle, being able to understand how any note I play relates to any chord. This was extremely time consuming, but now when I'm playing over, say, an A7, I know how any note relates to it, be it the root, major 3rd, minor 3rd, 11, sharp 11, 5, 13, flat 13, whatever. This allows me to highlight the chords and play chromatic notes around it. It's a crucial part of how I make note choices. Again, this is an advanced topic. If it interests you, check out my video on basic theory and then go watch my 2 videos on modes. Next up is something I've been trying to figure out for years and have only recently made progress with. How do I make money with my music? The one key principle that I believe in is that you need to create something great. Most musicians are capable of doing something pretty good, but that won't cut it. Remember, we live in an age where every piece of recorded music is available at our fingertips. Why would I listen to your song over my favorite band? Your competition is not your friends, it's not your local music scene. It's the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Led Zeppelin, Michael Jackson. You need to strive to get to that level if you want to be heard. Now, there are 2 ways to be great. You do something that nobody else has ever done, or you do something that other people have done, but you do it better. Of course, there are those who win the musical lottery to success, but those are the outliers. If that sounds daunting, that's because it is, and it's the reason the vast majority of people who dream of being a rock star come up short. However, there are 3 common traits I've seen in the few people I know who've gone on to great success. 1, undeniable talent. 2, superhuman drive, and 3, business savvy. If you have these 3 things, you are bound for greatness, and I look forward to seeing you at the top of the charts. Remember, even if you never earn a full-time income as a musician, there's still a lot of satisfaction that can be found with music as a hobby. I've gone deeper into this subject in a few other videos. I'll link to them in the description. Number 4, how do I play with more feeling? The way that people connect with different guitar players and the emotions they feel is subjective. But what I would recommend is breaking down the elements of your favorite guitar player's technique outside of note choice. Take for example, if I played this note here. That will sound a lot different than if I play it like this. The first time I simply hit the string. The second time I muted all the strings I wasn't playing, strummed them all, slid into the note, and held it out with a fair bit of vibrato. Look for those types of subtleties in the guitar players you enjoy and try to copy them. Moving along, another common question is, how much does gear quality matter? My answer would be probably not as much as you think. Now keep in mind, I'm not much of a gearhead myself. My thoughts are 95% of your sound are in the fingers. I think a lot of us wrongly attribute a guitarist's tone to their gear gear when in reality it's in their touch. The fancy gear will accentuate how great a musician sounds anyways. When I worked in a music store, there was one employee who had played in a bunch of rock bands back in the 70s. One day he went into a practice room with a beginner level Squier Strat Pack and had that thing sounding like Jeff Beck. It made me realize that we're far better off putting the brunt of our efforts and money into practicing and lessons. Next up on our list is how do I play faster? While I wouldn't put my technique as one of my strengths on guitar, any technical abilities I do have come from one simple principle: practice slow. When I was at school for music, I had a classmate who was the world's fastest drummer. His name is Tom Grosset, and he also has a wicked YouTube page. I remember asking him about his practice regimen, fully expecting a long, complex formula. He told me he'd set his metronome to 60, which is the same speed as the second hand on a clock, and hit his drum pad every beat. He would make sure that at a slow tempo, he was playing each note 100% efficiently, embedding perfect technique into his psyche. He would spend a bit of time with the metronome at the threshold of his speed, slowly raising it, but the bulk of his practice was done slow. See, at a slow speed, you can make those slight variations that your brain couldn't possibly comprehend when playing fast. You make those changes, your instinctual motions, and you develop your speed. Next up is how do I cure writer's block? I think writer's block comes from a lack of tools. There are countless ways to squeeze something interesting from even a mediocre idea, you just need to know them. I'm going to link to my videos on songwriting as well. I want to recommend the book Writing Better Lyrics. This book isn't lyric writing by numbers. Instead, it teaches you how to get the most out of your writing. It teaches you skills and tools. My biggest advice besides that is walk around the world with writer's glasses. If you want to be a serious songwriter your entire life, no matter what you're doing, you should be ready to receive potential song ideas. If you hear someone say something interesting and clever, if you see an image that provokes deeper thought, write it down. Train yourself to be passively ready to receive these things and err on the side of writing down too much stuff. That way, when you go to write, you're not hoping to just be magically inspired. Creativity isn't a switch you can flick on or off. Instead, you want a wealth of ideas you can draw from. If one idea leads to nowhere, move on to the next. When you've done your preparation, something will click. The next question that I received was, how do I get out of a musical rut? So you feel like you aren't progressing and music has lost its zeal. When this happens, you need to make some changes. It's imperative that we all strive to expand our skills. If all we ever do is strum that one song we're already good at, we'll never improve. Instead, we want to find things we struggle with and become good at them. Of course, we don't want to overextend ourselves too much. If this is our comfort zone, we don't want to be working on the thing way over here. Instead, let's work on this thing just outside so our comfort zone grows ever so slightly. We repeat this over and over again until that thing that was way over our heads before is within reach. You can find a lifetime of interest in music if you devote yourself to this discipline. This was also the subject of my first ever sensei series, link in the description. Moving on, number 9, what should I practice when I have limited time? You're always better focusing on fewer things than spreading yourself too thin. Be honest, make a list of your weaknesses and the things that are holding you back. Focus on the worst ones. Once those things become your strengths, move on to the next. If you're not quite as limited with your time, maybe you can focus on more things at once. And make sure there's always an element in your practice where you get to have fun with it. There's a Bruce Lee quote, "I fear not the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once, I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times." Think about that, and I'll link you to my video on practicing as well. The last question on our list is, what topic do guitarists neglect the most? Without question, it's rhythm. And I get it, rhythm isn't nearly as flashy as tapping or busting out some crazy solo, but it's the glue that holds all music together. It's truly what separates the pros from the amateurs. Flashiness can keep someone entertained briefly, but groove and funkiness can keep them dancing all night. If you can combine all of those things, even better. It also makes it easier and more fun to play with you. Being a great bandmate gets you hired more. The thing that kills me about this is it's so easy to incorporate rhythm into your practice. Whatever you're practicing, do it with a metronome, easy as that. Remember, rhythm is king. We can all strive to be a little more like Nile Rodgers. And you know I've gone into deeper depth on this subject. There you have it, the 10 most common guitar player questions. I hope you found this video useful and I hope you enjoyed it. If you missed out on getting your questions in, make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram where I'll often reach out to you guys. Thank you all for watching, and the biggest of shoutouts to everyone who supports my channel through Patreon. If you like what I do and you'd like to get involved with that program, hit that link over there. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I've got 2 new videos every week. I'm Samurai Guitarist. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you soon.